Hello, this is Babam. We are exploring the cellular automata mod, which you can see here is activated, as is the world edit mod. You can get those from the mod store here. Anyway, here we go. We're going to play game. I got creative mode enabled, and I'm already flying. And the time of day is set to not change so that we don't deal with darkness. Excuse me. So today we're going to do some 2D automata. We've been demoing the 1D stuff. It's not as fun as 2D stuff. And 2D stuff is not as fun as 3D stuff. But we can get some 3D behavior out of our 1D automata or 2D automata by making them grow in a certain direction. First, I'll show you just how to start a 2D automata from a single cell. We could place a block on the ground. Let's just do that. We're going to place an automata block here. Then we're going to activate our form here. So we have our activate button because we've placed an inactive block. And we need to switch to 2D tab. Now here we have a new option. It's called neighbors. We can calculate 2D automata based on all 8 neighbors around the cell. Every cell has 8 neighbors around it in a 3x3 block. Not counting the middle, that's 8. We can also calculate just the neighbors that are fully touching on a face. So that's only 4 neighbors, making a kind of a plus sign across. So we also have rules in 2D automata, but from here on, for 2D automata and 3D automata, we have to write our rules a little differently. What it is the first set of rules before the slash indicate the birth rules, and the second set of rules after the slash indicate the survival rules, which if you don't survive, you could call them death rules, but we call them survival rules. Now, if you're starting from a single cell, you have to have rules that allow growth and survival for just one neighbor. So that kind of limits you as to what you can do. You cannot do Conway's game of life. Conway's game of life is the example given here, 2-3/3. If we tried to activate this with the rules 2-3/3, which are the default if we leave this blank, you'll see here that it just dies. Turns to dirt and it's done. But we'll place another block and we'll try some rules that won't die. One that I know works, you don't need to separate your numbers with commas with 2D because the digits don't go past 9. So it's nice you just write it like this. We'll try 1, 2, 3, 4/1/4 in a 4 neighbor rule set, and we're going to make it grow up into the sky, which is +1 growth distance in the y-axis, and we'll leave the trail as dirt, and we'll do it for 30 generations. So we can activate this cell and watch it grow. We'll fly above it. You can see how the pattern grows with the white blocks, and you can see the trail being left behind with the dirt blocks. You can come here, you can look at the structure of it as it continues to grow, and it stops. So that is our pattern. It's finished. That was grown from a single cell. Now, what we can do is we're going to float just above the surface here. We're going to start a pattern, but this time we're going to go down. We're going to make this growth distance -1 in the y-axis so that it goes down. And we're going to change the rules to 8 neighbors. I believe that makes a more solid pattern. Because now we're looking at the corner neighbors as well. So we're going to just set this to destructive, and we're going to turn off the trail. When we do that, the trail is air, which means we can dig down into the ground. So we're going to start a single, and we're going to watch it. Oh, it's not very solid. If it was more solid, it would make quite a cave. But we can fly down here. Oops. If you can find a solid pattern, you can make a big open space like a cavern with some, not really fractal, but fractal-like shape to it. So that's something you can do. You can blast down into the ground. Another thing you can do is you can place blocks in a pattern and see what you get. This time what we're going to do is we're going to use Conway's Game of Life rules, which are 2-3/3. This time we're going to grow up. We're going to set our trail block. We'll make it stone. Default stone. If you want to use other block types, you can. You just have to know the name of them. We'll have to get a list of those from somewhere. Basically, the format is mod name, block name. So default being the built-in blocks. I don't have any other mods enabled so that provide blocks. So, and we're gonna go. Let's go 50 generations, because go big or go home. And then we're going to say activate. And oh wait, we're going to change these rules to 2-3-3. And we're going to activate. Let's see what happens. Conway's Game of Life patterns do not always grow, so this pattern may die. But so far it's living. It's become symmetrical. It's quite beautiful. We're making some kind of a strange tower. Oh, it died. Or, no, it finished. 50 generations. Didn't die. Okay, so you can see there that is a very unique pattern that you would not really be able to produce any other way. And it's unique to our rule set and our starting conditions, which were randomly placed blocks. So if you really want to observe Conway's Game of Life without any growth or anything like that, what you can do, let's go way up in the sky here. We can mark a world edit position. / pause 1. Then we will fly diagonally, make a big square, make / position 2, turn around and look at it. Okay, so there's our approximately a square. I don't know if it's exactly a square. We're going to fill this with a random starting distribution of inactive cells. Oh, did I say fill or mix? I said mix. Why is it solid? Oh, I didn't say air. Oops. There. Random distribution. So that's people who explore Conway's game of life, that's very commonly what we start with, is a random grid. Now, if we have to own these cells, and let's leave the world that it borders on in this case so that we can see if it grows beyond the borders. It doesn't affect, it does not limit the growth of the cells to that region. It's just going to show us if anything goes beyond it. So then we're going to switch to our remote, and we're going to turn off the trail. We're going to turn off the grow distance so that it stays in that plane. So this becomes irrelevant, the growth axis, other than to say that we're calculating it in the XY plane. That's why the other axis option from the 1D main axis disappears, because the growth axis implies the calculation plane. So here we have 233, which is Conway's game of life. Let's activate this and see what happens. For fun, we'll do default Mies as a finishing block, and we'll go for 50 generations. Let's go for 100. And we're going to activate. So larger patterns like this grow slower to keep your computer from completely crashing. So very large patterns, like when we get into 3D patterns, have the ability to run you right out of memory and crash the game. So be careful. We'll get into that more when we do 3D patterns. But here you can see the game board resolving a little bit. We have grown outside of the boundaries in some spots. And you can see the familiar Conway's game of life stable patterns start to emerge, as long as they don't get interfered with. It's not a fast way to model Conway's game of life. It's not a roiling, boiling, seething petri dish like it is with Conway's game of life simulators you might have seen on the web or may have downloaded to play with. But you can see that it is possible to do the same thing with this mod. But we're not going to wait for this. We're going to let this go, and we'll come back and look at it later and see what resolved or what emerged out of it. Usually you don't see a lot of complex organisms, for lack of a better word, emerging out of a random distribution. The most you might see is a glider or some blinkers or traffic lights or bread loaves or blocks. For example, you can see in my crosshairs that's a block that will not change anymore. That I believe this might be a glider right here. I'm not sure which direction it's going though. Gliders, if you were to create a glider, they continue off into the distance indefinitely, depending on how many generations you have set. But anyways, there's our Conway's game of life happening in 3D space in minetest. Don't know what else to show you right now with 2D automata. It can be fun to trigger them sideways. They look very much like this creature here. But it's harder to start a random, well, let's try it. Let's do position 1, position 2, mix air automata inactive own cells. This time we will reset the region so we can see it a little better. We'll activate our remote control. We're in 2D. We are facing plus Z. So let's make the growth axis be Z. And the growth distance be 1. And we're going to have a trail block. Dirt. We'll go for 100 generations, or maybe 200, because it's funner. And we're going to activate those. So it's this, oh, I made it 3 units thick. I guess we'll see what happens. It's basically calculating 3 planes of automata. Well, now you see what happens if you don't do just a single row. But you can see that it's going to grow into Z. It's going to be quite slow compared to a 1D automata. But it is kind of wild, I guess. It should start to grow beyond its boundaries, as you can see it is here. So while that grows, let's go back to our game of life, see what's happening there. Still going. So here we have I think they're called bread loaves. Here is a blinker, which should alternate directions every iteration, which it's doing. Here's another stable shape, another one. Those won't change anymore unless they get collided with, like it just did. Anyway, we will come back with another video doing a little bit more stuff with 2D automata. We're not going to wait 200 generations for this to grow. But you can see it's very complex because you're looking at 3 or 4 layers of Conway's game of life playing out at the same time, one behind the other. So you can't do that in a 2D simulator. But that's going to be it for now. This is Babam. Thanks for watching.